Right, we gonna start our first lesson on finding the equation of a circle. So the learning objective is to know that the equation of a circle, which has got a radius r and the center being a and b, is given by that formula there. So that's the learning objective. Now we're gonna try and make it as simple as possible to start with. So what I want us to do is to go back to thinking about right angle triangle. I'm just thinking about how to find the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle if you done Pythagoras theorem. Say, for example, I've got this. Pretend that is a right angle triangle, just sketching it. Okay. Now, let's pretend that this length here is x centimeters. And this length there, that width there, that height is y centimeters. Right? You know, when we are representing horizontal line, we normally use x. And when we are representing the vertical lines, we normally use y. So let's pretend that I wanted to find what this line here is, what this hypotenuse is. Now, if you remember, Pythagoras theorem is that if you want to find hypotenuse, which is always c, we use c squared equals to a squared plus b squared, right? So that's something you should remember. So if I want to find what the hypotenuse is always c, yeah? This base here is always a, and this side is always b. Okay, so actually if I could just use that first. So let me just call this a centimeters, and that's b centimeters, and that's c centimeters. Okay. So we know that this formula of Pythagoras theorem formula says that c squared equals to a squared plus b squared. Now suppose I change this, rather than using a, b, c, suppose I change them to x, y, and maybe r. Okay. So I've got that's going to be x centimeters, and that's going to be y centimeters, and that's going to be r centimeters. So we can now say that r squared, which is c squared, equals to a squared, which is x squared plus b squared. Okay, so r squared equals to x squared plus y squared. So if you compare that to c squared equals to a squared plus b squared. Okay, so that's something that I want you to understand to begin with. Okay, now the other thing I want you to understand is this. Let's pretend that the value of x here, let's pretend that we're talking about the grid, right? And here is the center starting from level 0. So the value of x here is 0, and the value of x here is 3. Okay, so think about the x-axis. So if I extend that, so then it looks like x-axis. So I can put that there, and I can put that there. So this is basically 0. So we can see that basically this length from here all the way to there is going to be 3 centimeters. Now, what about if I pretend that this height here is 4 centimeters? Okay, it means that I'm going to have a vertical line, right? That vertical line going down like that. And I could extend this one to be negative. Okay, so if I'm going up here, and if I stop somewhere there, then I can say confidently that that is 4 centimeters along the y-axis. So it's going to be x-axis, and that's going to be this is going to be x-axis, and that's going to be y-axis. So the height of this triangle is 4 centimeters, and that's the same as what the value of y is at that particular level there. Okay, right. What I want to do now is to work out what this line is. So I can call that line r. I can call that line r. Now the first thing I will need to do, I will need to know what a is. Now a is 3 centimeters and b is 4 centimeters. But how do I get that? To find that this is 3 centimeters, there are two ways you can do it. You can just count the gap. So 1, 2, 3. Or you can just read this number because that is 0 anyway. But if I want to do it, I didn't want to do that. All I could do, I could subtract. I could do 3 take away 0. And then if I wanted to get what this 4 is, I could count steps up, or I could just do 4 take away 0. So I could just do 4 take away 0. Now that's going to give me 3, and that's going to give me 4 centimeters. Okay, so if I want to find what r is, I'm going to use the equation r squared, which is going to be c squared, equals to a squared, and a is 3 centimeters, that one there, plus b squared. B is that height there, which is going to be 4 squared. So that's the first way I can write this. Another way I can write it, I can write this way. I can write 3 take away 0, and then I'm going to put bracket squared, and then I can put 4 take away 0, and then I close that with bracket, and then I just square like that. So there are two ways you can write this. It's going to be that, or it's going to be this. So I want you to understand that one first before we start finding the equation of a circle. Okay, so let's go back again. We're going to be using Pythagoras theorem knowledge here, and we can say that r squared, which is c squared, equals to a squared, which is 3 squared, plus b squared, which is 4 squared. And the way you can find that a is by doing 3 take away 0, which is what I've done here, or and the way of finding the 4, which is the value of y here, is going to be doing 4 take away 0, which is what I've done in this bracket here. Now, if you simplify brackets, it takes you back to 3 and 4, and you square that. So we can leave it there, just as we start introduction. Okay, now if you go to the next slide, let's think about a circle which has got a center 0, 0, and let's pretend that the radius of the circle is called r. The radius is basically r, so that one there. Now this is x-axis and that is y-axis. Now what you need to appreciate is that circles normally have the same radius. So if the radius here, if this length is r, then the whole of that from here to there is going to be r, that to down there is going to be r, that to down there is going to be r, everywhere is just going to be r, r, r. As long as the line is from the center all the way to the circumference, right? So anything from there to there is going to be r, anything from there, if I was to draw it all the way, there's going to be r, all the way around, it's going to be r, yeah? As long as it's from the center and touching the circumference, it's going to be r. So that's the first thing that is the same for this particular radius here. Okay, now I want us to pretend that we can drop a right angle triangle. Let's pretend that at this point I can drop a right angle triangle there. I can just drop that right angle triangle there. You think about it that way. So from where r stops there, I can drop a right angle triangle. That one there like that. Okay. Now, if I drop a right angle triangle, then if I know what length this one is here, if I know what that length is, now let's pretend that that length here is x centimeters from 0 to what x. Let's just pretend it's x centimeters. If you ignore this x there and ignore that y there, so let's just pretend that this is x centimeters and this height here is y centimeters, this one here. Now I can use this x and that y using Pythagoras theorem to find what this r is. So I can now say that x squared plus y squared equals to r squared. Okay, so the x is not how long this line is, but the x is where this line stops up to there. So this red part here. Okay, so this x I'm talking about here, that is not referring to x-axis, it's referring to what x is here. Okay, now this y here is not referring to y-axis, it's referring to what y is in terms of height, what the value of y is somewhere there in that level. Okay, so I want you to see how we're going to start linking circles with Pythagoras theorem. Okay, we're going to start linking circles with Pythagoras theorem. So this is what I've just explained to you. So from line C to B, let's pretend that's x centimeters, and line A to B is going to be y centimeters in length, right? Now, notice that at point A here, at this point A here, the value of x is the same as what this x is here. Is the same as what the length is here, because we are starting from 0. This is basically 0. So whatever the length is what the value of x is here. So the value of x here, let's say, pretend the value of x is 3, right? So this is 0 and that is 3. So x itself, that length is going to be 3 centimeters. Now let's pretend that the value of y, the height here, is going to be 4. Okay. So the height is 4, and that's what y is gonna be as a coordinate. Okay. So the coordinate of A is gonna be x and y, which is the same as 3 and 4. But the center of this circle is going to be C. Okay. Now, then we can now use this formula now to say something, that x squared plus y squared equals to r squared, whereby x squared is the line CB, which is that one there, and then y squared is the line AB, which is AB there, and you square it, and that equals to r squared. Okay, so if you are given the equation of a circle in the form x squared plus y squared equals r squared, you can work out the radius of the circle in the following way. Now, what we are saying that this thing here, this equation here, we call it the equation of a circle. As long as the center of this circle we're talking about is at 0, 0 on the coordinate grid. Okay, right. So I want to stop this video here first. And then in the next video, we're just going to go through this first example now. So I'm going to stop this video here as it is. And next video, we're going to look at this example.